In this video, I am going to be showing you the process of the creation of this painting. It will be a full-length video of everything in real time, and you will see all the decisions that I make in creating a painting like this, some of which work out as I expect and want them to, and sometimes they don't, but that's all part of the process. So I hope you enjoy watching this video, and here we go. Starting with a clean slate, I have my 1-inch flat brush. I'm going to begin by wetting my page with water because I'm going to be doing wet techniques, wet and wet, and starting with some of this bluish indigo color that I have. Spreading that out across my page, letting it bleed with the water, and maybe adding some of this shimmery purpley gold as well. Can you see the shimmer in there? Several of the paints in this set are they're these hand mixed watercolor paints, and many of them have mica pigment in them to make them all shimmery and shiny when the paintings are dry. All right, let's see. Starting with that, just wet everything down. I have a slight gradation in my wash here, tilting things to let the liquid run a little bit and move. And now I'm going to let this dry. Here is my initial wash layer dried. I'm going to take a number 4 round brush. Actually, this is a number 2. It's a little one. And using that same purplish blue that I had before, get some of it into my palette here. I'm going to start from the upper portion of my painting and work down over a series of washes. These are going to be the most distant trees. And I'm just painting it as a glaze of color. The upper edge of it is the tree line, and the lower edge, I'm going to fade that out into the surrounding background wash. Using the tip of my brush, my nice pointed brush, to get detail little upper edge that looks like the silhouette branches of distant pine trees. And then I use the large mop of the brush to do these washes like this and blend it out. These are distant hills topped by trees. I love how when you see hills far away, when you see layers of them, you'll notice that the top portion of them looks actually much more dark and dense in color than the base of the hills, where they sort of blend due to moisture and atmosphere and other interference, so that there's this blending into a lighter misty layer that sandwiches between the hills that rise off. And that's what we're going to recreate with this piece in some very simple washes and layers. So this is just the first of what will be many washes. All right, once I've shaped my upper edge of the skyline, I blend the rest out and down. And it doesn't need to be perfectly smooth because there are going to be many other layers that will cover these areas later. Ready for the next layer. Oh, by the way, if you're curious, this color that I'm using, well, this whole set of paints is Artistic Isle, and this particular purpley blue color, which I really like, is called Squid Ink. It's sort of got an indigo purpley look to it. All right, I'm going to do another layer very similar to what I just did, but further down on the page a little bit. These are some closer slopes, slightly closer, slightly lower. Same technique though, where I am working from the top down. So I'm starting with the raggedy edges of the treetops, the tree foliage, with the tips of my brush, with the tip of my brush, and pulling down that wet paint to blend into the lower portions. And I'm going to just continue that across the page. What I don't want to do is to have this layer even with the previous one. I want there to be some variation in my hillsides. So I don't want them both to go at the same angle like this. I want this one to be, the first one to be like that, and the second one to have, maybe some slight ups and downs and some dips where the first layer does not have dips. And that will make it feel much more natural, because if they're too similar, it will feel very contrived, and you want to have more of this element of randomness to the skyline edge. Blending things out with my damp flat brush. Some areas I don't do the tree foliage raggedy look. I do some of these smoother edges, which will look like distant rocky promontories. And once again, when I have my secondary skyline layer in place, I will let this dry again. I am going to now mix in some Payne's Gray, as well as some ultramarine, French ultramarine blue, mostly Payne's Gray, along with the squid ink that I was using. Because I want this next layer to be darker than the previous two. As I'm moving closer and closer to the foreground, things are going to become more detailed as well as more intense in color. So two things. Starting again with the similar treatment though, as I do these pine trees along the ridge. Silhouetted shapes along the upper edges. Extending down though in a slope here. I think I want things to come in towards not the center, but maybe a little bit offset from the center here in a valley. Perhaps we will have a little stream running through it at the end. I'm not quite sure yet. Seeing where things go. Blending out the base a little bit more. And then going to do something along that side as well. An echoing slope of what is perhaps a little ravine carved out by a river or stream. I live by one of those actually. Right near my house, right across the street from me, is this gorgeous little ravine that cuts through what would otherwise just be a jumble of houses, but instead we've got this beautiful little strip of greenery that carves down from the hillsides into a very urban area. It's super unusual, and people, whenever they visit, are kind of surprised that something like this exists in Oakland, because it's just so not the impression that people have of my town. But I love it. It's this beautiful little green strip, and it comes down from the surrounding hillsides and mountains, and it's caused by a stream that has been pouring down from there for who knows how long, because it's dug this deep trench, this deep ravine at this point. So that's kind of what I'm thinking of here as I paint this ravine. I'm thinking of my own beloved little ravine, river carved. And I need some more darkness with more Payne's Gray, more of the squid ink for that lovely color. And I'm going to add a little bit of this purple sparkle again as well. I used that at the beginning, right? Now, this sparkly mica pigment does not reproduce well in a scan or in prints, but it makes for some really, really beautiful looking little originals that have this sheen in the light. So they're fun to use. Okay, blending that out. More drying time.